Glad to see you here for another Roll for Crit podcast, the official podcast for rollforcrit.com. Watch, shop, play. I'm Will Keeler.
I'm Jonathan Estes, and I'm not glad to see you. You're the only one. You watching this right now. Everyone else who's watching this later, thank you for joining us. So how about those Gen Con tickets?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're gone. Mm-hmm. They're completely gone. We already talked about this probably going to happen a couple weeks ago, but they are now officially gone. So if you wanted to go to Gen Con, you could still go for one day, but you can't get a 4-day badge anymore. And I don't think they're going to be selling any on the floor either when you get there.
No, I doubt it.
So sorry about that. Sorry about that, folks, but I hope you got in. Actually, probably most people who wanted to go probably got to go because they had a lot of tickets. There also was, going off conventions last week, was Dice Tower Con down in the South, where if anybody went to that, it'd be fun to hear about your experience there. But they did give Scythe their Dice Tower Game of the Year award, which is what everybody did.
Yeah.
And probably had some other cool stuff going on down there, panels and whatnot. We weren't invited. Actually, we were, but we refused to go. We're boycotting them. We think you should.
Why were you boycotting them?
I hate towers.
It's true. He really hates the movie The Dark Tower.
Dice don't belong in towers. I'm going to print signs, t-shirts. It's my new movement. Now, there is one big piece of news this week that you probably heard some rumblings about. They announced a brand new version of Catan themed around Game of Thrones. It is officially named Game of Thrones Catan Brotherhood of the Watch. We probably should have seen this coming.
I mean, yes, but at the same time.
So since,
I'm just surprised we didn't get it before Game of Thrones Munchkin.
That didn't happen, right?
I don't think so.
Okay. I wasn't sure. I was like, is there one? I don't remember it, because there could be. No, this came first. Well, of course, since...
Maybe, wait, it might be because that's just Munchkin.
Yeah, there's enough backstabbing already. But since, Asmodee bought Catan and Fantasy Flight has Game of Thrones, and they're all one happy family, it only seems natural, right? Well, there's a few things that are different about this version of the game. For the most part, it's Catan, as you know and love. This time you are all members of the Watch of Game of Thrones. If you don't know, they're the sort of the society that lives the outskirts of the kingdom, would you say, and is supposed to protect from the wildlings coming in, which does take
possibly some other things, but you shouldn't say no more if you haven't.
Shouldn't say no more. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. The difference is in this game, you can hire different heroes. I think they're called heroes in this game. Basically, other famous members of the Watch.
Right.
And they're going to give you abilities that you can use twice per game. For instance, one of them gives you a 1-to-1 trade for resources to the bank. Another one lets you rebuild roads that you already placed in a new place, which is kind of cool. And once you've used them up, you can continue to purchase more. So they're basically a new pool of stuff you can buy. And there's also a chance for wildlings to attack you. So you're going to be hiring guards, which are a different set of cards that will protect you from the different kinds of wildlings. If the wildlings make it through, if you don't have enough guards to get past them, if that happens 3 times in the game will end immediately, and whoever's in the lead at that time will win.
Okay.
So there's sort of a new win condition, potentially. Maybe if you're in the lead, you might even try to make that happen. I don't know, but there could be some interesting strategies there. So I don't know. What do you think? Does that sound cool? You excited to play Catan again in a new way?
Not really.
No? Why not?
Well,
talk to me.
I mean,
what do you feel?
Part of it is while I know all this stuff, I'm not caught up in the show of Game of Thrones. I can't I might recognize certain characters' names. Like, I played the LCG a bit with our friend, so I recognize some people. But then I'm not going to be like, oh, man, I remember him from episode this or chapter this. So I'm not as, it's not as strongly targeted for me.
Well, one thing I'll say, I'll give them credit because I feel like they could have easily just done Game of Thrones Catan, period, and had it be, oh, you're in the kingdom and you pick a house. And each house is just trying to build the most stuff, because why not? I think it's cool that they actually did go in and say, what's an aspect of this franchise that actually might make sense, and specifically they took it for the Brotherhood of the Watch and building the wall and all that, rather than just a straight up pasted on theme. I think that's pretty cool, and it sounds like there's some cool stuff in there, but it also sounds like a lot of the things there that are being added are elements that we've seen in like Star Trek Catan and some of even the original Catan expansions.
When you said the wilding, and the first thing I thought were the pirates from.
Yeah, exactly. So it's sort of like maybe a mix and match.
I really did not enjoy playing with the pirates.
Yeah, I think I remember doing that once and didn't really like it. But yeah, so I don't know. But other than that, it's kind of, the other thing is this is going to be $80 is the retail price.
That's a bit more than the others.
Yeah, and I'm thinking they know that a lot of people around Christmas time will be like, oh, they like Game of Thrones, and they're just going to shell out for it because it's like a collector's edition or something like that. Maybe there's more in this box that we don't know about that makes that price.
I'd hope so, because I feel, $80 for that?
Well, I'm trying to remember, but I think the Ancient Egypt one was a similar price. I think it was also pretty expensive.
Right, but that one came with a lot of new interesting miniatures and stuff. Like, if they had at least that in there, I'd feel a little better. Like, if the wilding wasn't just a pawn. Like,
right.
You know.
Maybe they have some cool minis or something. I don't know. But
I mean, this is Fantasy Flight, people, so.
Yeah, that's true. But otherwise, yeah, maybe they just are like, well, it's a limited thing, maybe, so that's why it's got that extra price tag.
Yeah.
Either way, you can decide if it's worth your dollar or not when it comes out later this year.
Will you protect the wall?
Yeah, or will you let them die, you monster? So that's Game of Thrones Catan. That's really all the big breaking news we have to talk about this week. There wasn't a whole lot going on. I feel like we might be in the calm before the storm of Gen Con.
No, that's why. I definitely feel like we're starting to hit that area when everyone's not just out there saving up money. It's like I need to let it loose as soon as I enter the Fantasy Flight booth.
That's right.
That's when my wallet goes.
Maybe they'll have that new Game of Thrones at Gen Con, and we'll get to try it. It's that time now. It's a little more than a month away.
And by try, you mean we'll be able to just watch from like 30 feet away because the crowd will be so large around it.
Yeah. Well, somehow, I'm thinking even a Game of Thrones Catan might not draw that big a crowd at Gen Con. But maybe you have enough money that you're not hoarding it all just yet. If so, we have some Kickstarter picks that you might want to look into. Beginning with one of yours that involves adorable furry creatures.
Yes.
Called trash pandas.
Yes. If you don't know the term, it is a internet colloquial term for raccoons. I am partially enjoy raccoons because my mom actually had one as a pet as a child.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is new lore. Hashtag new lore.
So she always told me about raccoons and stuff, all the great stories. And so seeing this looked really fun. The idea is you are raccoons and you're digging through trash to find some good stuff. And all the cards, which I really do like, it's a push your luck game. So pretty much you roll a die and it'll have different symbols on them. And you collect a token of the symbol you roll. But if you roll the same symbol again, you bust. So if you roll a mass symbol the first time, you're good. But if you roll the mass symbol again later on, you bust. So the more you roll, the more tokens you take, the more likely you're going to get a repeat.
Okay.
But of course, the cards you collect and buy with the tokens and stuff may have abilities like ignore the last roll or change the roll to something else. But at the same time, you can either use them for abilities or keep them as points. So it has that really fun dynamic of how do I use my resources towards winning or keeping things. And there are fun cards, which I really like. Like one of them is force your opponent to roll again. So if they want to be like, I'm stopping here. No, you're not.
That's fun. Yeah.
And they all have very silly names. Like it's like doggo or like fish. Because raccoons are weird. They don't know how to say actual English, of course.
Yeah, they speak broken English.
And another great thing is it's very cheap.
That's right.
Was it $15?
$12. $12.
So definitely, it looks like a very fun, simple push your luck, but also some fun player interaction and enough resource management. It's not just roll and get resources. You actually have to think of how you want to spend them for points or for abilities.
So your brother loves pandas. Your mom loves trash pandas. Do you like red pandas, maybe?
I love all of them.
Okay. You're not like a team of superheroes who each have your own panda specialty?
No, I'm the creep who likes things with scales.
Yeah, that is creepy. All right, next up, this is one I thought was cool. It's called Revolutionaries. It is a role-playing game that takes place during the Revolutionary War, which is my favorite war.
Of course.
I mean, it's in my top 5 at least. And what's cool, so in this game, you are not going to be you're not George Washington, you're not a soldier even. You are all spies. You're part of this thing called, I believe it's called the Culper Ring.
Can I be Connor?
I see where you're going with that. Assassin's Creed 3 reference. But apparently this is a real thing. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Yeah, I actually have.
The Culper Ring, which was like George Washington's mandated group of spies. And so that's what you are, and you're going out there and you're carrying out missions in Revolutionary War times, which is neat. The other thing that's interesting, this game uses what they call the Axiom system, which some other games have used from the company, where you don't actually have character sheets. You have cards. It comes with like a deck of cards, and your cards give you your character, your abilities, your stats, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So you just have a hand of cards, and that can even influence, like you might lose a card due to an injury, and that keeps track of your health and stuff like that. So that sounds kind of unique and different. I haven't tried any of those.
I mean, that definitely sounds cool. I did enjoy, for the most part, the Assassin's Creed 3 idea, and I think that the ring could definitely fill the same kind of fun purpose of that.
I mean, honestly, when I was reading the description and I didn't know that was a real thing, I was like, this is Assassin's Creed 3. It's the same thing. So that seems cool. There's a bunch of different tiers because, it's an RPG and there's digital or whatever. But the physical version that comes with all the books is $30, and there's like multiple books, so worth it, and plus the cards.
Yeah, definitely. I think if you're doing war times, spy groups are usually, or assassin groups and stuff, they usually are friendly because that's when you can do more like, you all know what happened in World War II.
Right.
But
it'd be weird to have just a regular, you're just on the battlefield and you're just rolling dice.
I've seen those exist. In fact, I remember a long time ago, one of our Kickstarter Pickstarter was one where you actually were the medics.
Oh yeah.
On the battlefield.
Huh. All right. Next up, I'm very curious to hear about this one. Pepper and Carrot. Is this based on something?
It is a webcomic, actually, that I do read, so I'll admit that right off the bat.
All right, biased.
You should read it. It's really beautiful artwork and really cute stories. But the game itself does look really fun, too. So the idea is, because in the comic she enters a potion contest because she wants to be recognized as, a good witch. And the idea is you're trying to win the potion contest. The way it works is pretty much it's like a big puzzle game that you're all competing with. You all will take these random tiles which have different ingredients that also have different pathways on them. And you'll shuffle them up without knowing, put your board out, fill out space, and then you'll see the potions you need to make. It'll be like you'll need to go from a claw to a wing to another wing to a claw to a eye. Like something weird like that, just tells you the ingredients.
Okay.
So you're trying to rotate and match up on your board that kind of path for each one. And each turn, you're forced to, there's a center board you'll be forced to do a switch. Be forced to rotate something, and you have one of each kind of movement in your hand. So pretty much at one time you can be like, I really don't want to do that. I want to do this. So it's a fun sort of puzzle, rotating your own game. And be like, okay, how can I get these matchups as quickly as I can on my randomized board without using my hand too much? Because once you use it, you're done. So
that's interesting.
And it does play those movement cards that everyone's forced to. It play in advance, so you can actually see like 2 or 3 in advance. So you can be like, I know I have to do a switch in this many, so I might want to wait first or do this. So it definitely, I think it draws to my more puzzle enjoyment game, and I think the same thing with you. It definitely has that sort of fun.
I've been enjoying those kinds of games lately. I think where like that Healing Blade game was kind of like that, where you're like kind of trying to match stuff. Yeah, that can be a good brain teaser for a game. That one goes for $29.
Yes.
Canadian. It's Canadian. That's $29 US though. It should be. And then the last one. This is kind of weird one, but I thought it was cool. They're calling it Entrenched, but they designed for X-Wing the trench of the Death Star, a full 3D model. You can check it out there, and it is unlicensed, unofficial, so they have to use some like tricky wording in their description.
Gotta love licensing language.
But it is essentially the trench run of Death Star from A New Hope, and it comes with little turrets and stuff that you can place on it, and it's fully compatible, so you can play in the trench, and there's also there's enough on the sides so you can place ships around the edges.
No, I mean honestly, the playmats they release, and one has the Death Star in the background, and one of them should have literally been the cover of the Death Star. I mean, I'm surprised they didn't do it already.
I agree, and I don't know if there's an official rule set, but I'm pretty sure there's at least fan-made ones on Board Game Geek that will be compatible with this.
Right,
map,
and I think especially since I know they're starting to do the story, or at least that last one. I think it was for Armada. I don't think they did one for X-Wing.
Yeah, the campaign missions
thing,
and stuff.
Like that would be, I think, a really interesting one that ends up on the Death Star and actually maybe comes with little turrets. And if you're the Imperial player, you actually those are ships, technically, like in terms of a dial or something you control.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, it definitely would be a fantastically interesting battle that would change the way the game would work. Just how like I'd almost want one that's more of on land or something, and you maybe are limited to certain ships, or you have to go slower, or certain ones work well. But there will be like the
Rogue One set.
I know there's I think it's pronounced something differently. It's not AT-AT, it's like AT-ATs or something.
Yeah,
depending on who you ask.
I think it's interchangeable.
But like something like that changes up. It's not just the ships. There's or asteroids. I know when we played, that was one of the environmental hazards.
Right.
Like so this sounds like a perfect.
Sorry, I thought you switched gears and started talking about the arcade game Asteroids.
No, I meant because there were like the asteroid.
Yeah,
pieces.
no, exactly. I mean, if you think of X-Wing, you're probably thinking of that scene from the movie. So this is something really cool. Now, it is going to set you back about $300.
Well, I mean, if you do a whole thing, like
So this is for if you are a major X-Wing fan.
I have a question. Is that if you get everything, is it possible to get maybe just the turrets or something?
Yes, you can buy just some of the lower ones. They even have like dice cups that look like lightsaber hilts. So there's some cool stuff on there that you can spend less money on if you just want to.
I mean, it's definitely it's like I said, worth checking out. Like maybe even try to print your own playmat of it, which might be cheaper, but get the turrets.
Yeah.
So definitely worth looking at.
Check out all these Kickstarters. We got the links right below. Really, really good stuff. Let's do a few viewer comments
before we hit
from the
very
Meeple
juicy
Gallery.
topic.
Yeah, juice topic today. Get ready for the juice, boys.
It actually is about juice.
Yep. We talked about this Monopoly Gamer last week.
I was actually going to bring that up when you brought the Catan.
You think they're similar?
Well, because it's like, look, we've taken our game, but we're making it different from the regular game.
Right, yeah, it's sort of like that. Well, Josh Roberts says, this game is very fun. I'm not a fan of regular Monopoly at all. Plays in under an hour. I have heard, at least, that it plays very quickly, and some people, it sounds like they actually enjoy it. So maybe there's something to this game.
I think that's definitely, I mean, a lot of times people complain because Monopoly is just, all right, for the next 3 hours, we're just rolling to see who goes bankrupt first.
I mean, that's an easy way to improve it right out the gate. Whittle Brudder, great name, commented on our old Jurassic Park 3, the board game playback.
Oh, truly one of the greatest games of all time.
From, I guess, last year or 2 years?
So.
When did Jurassic World come out? It was for that.
It was last summer, because remember, that's our movie list, and I was like, oh, we'll get one. It got one!
Yeah, nobody knows what we're talking about. So he found the game at a local Goodwill recently with no instructions, and was glad he found our video and used that to help learn how to play the game. Mm-hmm. But that's good to know that there are people out there who are still interested in Jurassic Park 3, the board game.
Hey, maybe we can get that, what was it, retro games that print the out-of-print games?
Yeah, restoration games.
We'll get them to Jurassic Park.
That's one that's certainly in need of a reboot. And then we also talked about the Fantastic Four expansion for Legendary, which is getting a reboot.
Right.
And how this is great, and you don't have to spend a bunch of money on the game anymore. Enrique Bustamante said, to be clear, this is a reprint edition. The original print is still worth more. I'm a hardcore collector, so I'm getting both editions. So, all right, I guess if you really want that the date printed, I guess it's worth like a couple $100 to you.
Well, yeah, we're strictly speaking from using it as a playset.
Of course, but I mean that's pretty hardcore. I'm not that.
I mean, there are plenty of things like that. I know, like the Amiibo collect, like some people will get different languages or multiple copies, so one out, one in box.
They're crazy. Like You're insane. But thanks for the comment, Enrique. And if anyone else has a comment like that, please leave it. We'd really appreciate it. Now, there's a big new hype trend right now in board games, right? It's pretty recent. I think we're seeing the beginnings of the
right. I mean, so much so that one of them has been a nominee for one of the. Not Spiel DR.
Oh, that's right. The Kennerspiel DR this year. We are, of course, speaking of Escape the Room games, which are a phenomenon that has swept the nation. You've seen them in real life, in physical games. They really started, I would say, in video games, and now have made their way into home versions of tabletop games. Now, we talked a while ago about Escape Room, the game. Pretty in-depth, I would say. So I think we may recover some of those tracks in this episode. But what we thought we would do is we've looked at 4 of these, specifically 4, and we could talk about including stuff like Time Stories, maybe.
Right. Well, that will come up and we'll explain why when we get there. But this is also partly because, you know, we want to try to play all the games that were nominees. So when we played Exit, we felt like we got to make sure we get the other ones before we talk about it as a whole.
Yeah, so we thought we'd look at specifically these 4 escape room games and how they match up to each other, what we think about, you know, the genre as a whole. They are Unlock from Asmodee, Exit from Cosmos, Escape Room the Game from Spin Master, and then Escape the Room the Mystery at the Stargazers Manor. It's a long title, that one, from Think Fun. And I also want to point out before we go into it that some of these, specifically Unlock and Exit, have multiple iterations. We haven't tried all of those, so if you want to take our comments with somewhat of a grain of salt, but we'll try to comment at least on the, you know, the presentation and the mechanics that are different.
And I mean, by all means, if you have played them all and can say how, if we make a point and be like, well, in the other one they don't do that, or they do, or something, whatever the case, by all means, we'll be glad to listen.
So I'm not sure how we want to tackle this, because what I think we should do at the end is do some sort of a ranking of where we think they place in our minds. But before
why don't we go over each one a little bit and talk about them?
Okay, yeah. So we can start with Unlock.
Let's start with the one we've already talked about, just so we can quickly go over it.
Escape Room the Game. Yeah. It is the most basic, at least in terms of title.
This was the first one we played. If you haven't watched the video, pretty much it comes with a decoder box and 4 scenarios or 3?
4 scenarios.
4 scenarios. We played through all of them.
No, I think we did the first 2 or 3.
We did the first 2 at least. I definitely remember 2.
Yeah.
But we played through them. It pretty much they each have their own little packet, and then usually they involves using the decoder box to put things on the wheel, and like little wings, and then tells you which keys to put in to go on to the next puzzle.
There's a bunch of literal physical keys, and that's what you're putting into the electronic box. And if you're accurate, it'll ding, and you get to move on. And the timer is also built into that box. This one is really the special thing is that escape room box, because that's your value in this one. And this is also the one I've seen most widely. We've seen it at Target and Walmart, places like that. It's definitely got mass market appeal and 4 different themes.
Partly also because I think it was one of the first ones that these come out.
Yeah, early on.
I think maybe the one with the really long title, which I don't remember everything perfectly.
Yeah, Stargazers Manor.
Because both Exit and Unlock are within the last this year, I believe.
Yes, those are definitely the newer ones. Yeah.
So that's how that one works. Most of the puzzles in there. There would be pretty much there'd be a picture and almost a lot more. Maybe think of Where's Waldo kind of thing. You have to like look for little hints and stuff.
Yeah, very much. Other than that electronic thing, there's no app, and well, actually there is an app. That's not true. It's just the timer though.
Right.
There's also no, like some of the other games have sort of ways of kind of combining items or interacting with items. No, this is very much all just kind of pencil and paper puzzles.
I feel like it's big puzzles we're decoding.
Yeah, and it does have some things where like you have to maybe punch something out and like match it up, like the test tube vials or sort of looking at things like that. So they are a little creative, but it's definitely more on the basic like pencil and paper side of kind of a thing. But you can see our video where we talked a lot about it. But overall, I think for the price, which is pretty reasonable.
Do you actually have all the MSRP prices?
I don't.
Okay.
I could look it up if you want. But it was.
I think that has to.
I think that was about.
We should bring that up because that is that will be.
Let's take that into account at the end, maybe. Let's just run through the rest. So next, why don't we talk about the other one that has escape room in the title, Mystery at Stargazers Manor.
Right.
And I don't think they have any others released yet, but it sounds like they.
I remember hearing about
maybe
one.
There's one other one.
I think there's one that just came out or something.
So we've only played Stargazers Manor, so that's what we're commenting on specifically. This one I'd say is pretty similar to the way that Escape Room the game is, in terms of the way the puzzles and paper work, and your opening envelopes also very similar to that game.
But the way this one worked is the story worked actually is each pretty much, it'd be like, here's the first puzzle, and when you solve that, you open the envelope and it reveals 2 more puzzles in there or something.
Well, this one definitely had much more of a emphasis on theme, because I think if you read the rule book, it actually suggests you should make this like a party and get everybody to wear a period outfit because it takes place in like the 1800s, and have it like a dinner thing and that kind of a thing, which is cool. I mean, that's because real escape room games that you go to in person a lot of times are kind of that experience.
No, I definitely am going to want to revisit that idea when we sum up all of them.
Yeah, so that's one thing that I think separates this from the other three.
And the other one was, at least this one, I don't, like we said, we don't know about the other one. It came with more than just pencil and paper. Like there were some other objects in there, like to assemble something.
Yeah, there's some physical components in there.
A bit more focus on the physical.
Yeah, so that's cool. That's Mystery at Stargazers Manor. Then there's Exit. This is the Kennerspiel nominee.
Yes.
We played the Pharaoh's Tomb.
Yes, because I mean, Egyptian, how can we not choose that one?
Which I think, from what I've read, I think the general consensus is people think it's the best one. With some differences here and there, but from what I've seen,
I was afraid all of a sudden you're going to be like, people say it's the worst one. I'm like, wait, so we played the worst one?
Right, so a lot of people like this one. This one has a card system where when you're solving a puzzle, you take a numbered card and if you think it's the right one, and the card will tell you whether you're right or not based on your input.
Right, but usually what it'll do is like look up 16. You'll look up D16 or something and be like, if you're trying to solve this puzzle, look up M4 or something. So there's a bit more.
There's like a two-step process so that you can't just grab a random card and hope that you're right.
The other big thing, compared to all the rest of the ones we played, is you have to. Oh, I mean, you don't have to, but it's very hard not to. Extremely hard. Destroy components.
It's definitely, it's really meant to be a one-time use.
Yeah, and we tried. Like, I photocopied things, and I tried pretty hard. I think we did a pretty good job. And
finally, we were just like, no, we were done with this. And which the other games actually, to an extent, you can repackage. Some better than others, but this one certainly the most is the hardest to do that with. So that's one thing about it. It's definitely on the smaller, cheaper side. And it's also pretty interesting the way it works because it has a book. Rather than, there's not envelopes that you're going through or anything like that. It's just one book, and you're looking at different pages and trying to figure out when
some of the puzzles were also in the cards.
Oh, right, that's true. That's true too. The cards that you find sometimes represent actually a new room that you find. So there's a little back and forth between the cards and the book and your own pencil and paper. This one I had, I think, more, maybe somewhat more cerebral kinds of puzzles. More, I mean, it's ancient Egypt, so it sort of fits the theme. More like decoding and trying to uncover hieroglyphs and stuff like that. But again, I feel still in a pretty similar wheelhouse to the other two.
Speaking of which, I just realized we should have mentioned this one and the one we previously talked about,
Stargazers Manor.
Both came with a code wheel.
Right,
which we totally forgot.
A code wheel that you have to line up certain symbols, and then it will show you in a square if you put in the right symbols or not. So they all have sort of their own different solutions for how to tell you when to progress. Right, which is interesting.
And obviously, it will probably depend on which box you open. So,
and I would actually say, so our last one is Unlock. I actually think this is maybe the most different of all of them because it uses an app. You need the app to play, and
it's not just a timer.
Right. All of your decoding codes are done by inputting through the app, and it felt there are also cards.
This solely is the app and a deck of cards. There's at least the one we played. You know, there wasn't much like, oh, it's a code wheel or assemble this weird contraption. Or
no, nothing like that. And the cards are actually items, and sometimes you actually have to combine the items and use them in certain places. You do that by putting a code of the two numbers of cards in the app.
It played more like, I would say, like an actual video game, the original video game lock room kind of deal. Like,
exactly.
Be like, I got a key. All right, there's something that uses a key. Put that in or something. You know?
Yes, it absolutely felt much more like a point and click kind of video game, which is pretty neat. And so yeah, so those, it had a very different feel, I think, because of that. Because the puzzles in that kind of a game, it's much less about, you're not really like trying to do any kind of math or stuff like that. It's more about, where do I use this?
Right, and well, there's one other thing that the app takes advantage of, is there was something in there in which, by discovering it, our time changed.
Right. So
and it wasn't because we did something wrong. Like certain things, time will go down because you're wrong. It was literally we lost a bunch of time because something significant happened.
So it has the possibility of being more dynamic.
Right.
So because it has that digital component, they can throw things at you that are different, which is neat. So those are the four, the big four. Now I think what I want to do is maybe a ranking by theme and then a ranking by puzzles.
Okay.
Does that sound fair to you?
I think that's absolutely fair.
And I don't think let's not make a big deal about it. Let's start with theme. And
why don't we just say who do we think was the best, who was the worst for each? Top, bottom?
I mean, there's only four,
okay,
so I feel like you might as well.
So right. So what do you think? So we're starting with theme?
So this is a tough one. Yeah, theme. I would probably put Escape Room, the game, at the bottom. Next, I would put Exit, Pharaoh's Tomb, then Stargazers Manor. Actually, then Unlock, and then probably Stargazers Manor at the top. But honestly, they're all pretty close.
Actually, I would put Unlock third.
Fourth, you mean? Do you mean last?
No, I agree with you on your fourth.
Oh, okay.
Unlock.
Well, just give me your whole four.
I think fourth I agree with you. Would be the Escape
Room,
the game. Third, I would put Unlock. Second, I would put the Exit. And first, I would put the Stargazers Manor.
Yeah. No, I think that's Unlock is interesting because it has the app, so that adds a little something to it, and I do like I give it theme points because there's something about using a key with a box.
No, I think that's fair. I think
feels more immersive.
No, I can see why where you'd switch to Unlock and Exit, but I do feel that the Stargazing Manor got that extra step because there's the fact that there's a story and you actually could be like, I'm out of here, or no, I'm going to do more.
I mean, I think that they clearly went the extra mile. They had a lot more flavor text in there. So yeah, that definitely gets points for that.
I mean, I know we made some jokes when we were doing the Exit the Room, because like I went to the bathroom and like, wait, you're just peeing in the corner of this ancient temple that hasn't been, no one's been in for the last time.
And he did. He didn't even close the door. We're method actors. In terms of puzzles.
Okay.
I'll say again. All right. This is actually my puzzle ranking is probably pretty different because I would put Stargazers Manor at the bottom of this list. Then I would probably put Escape Room the game, and then I think it's very close, but I think I would go Unlock and I would give Exit the #1 spot for that. But those two are pretty close for me. I really like the way the puzzles work in Unlock. I think that mechanic is very cool, but in terms of just actually how much I enjoyed them, and also in terms of, we could talk about challenge also.
Right, because I was thinking enjoyment in puzzles. I think I'd put...
It depends on what you enjoy. Do you like it harder or not?
I think Escape the Room, I'd put at...
Board game? Escape Room the game?
The game,
Sorry.
yeah. Sorry, I'd put it at the bottom, and I'll explain the reason why it's at the bottom for me. Then, honestly, I think I'd probably put... I think Unlock's my #1. I really do like that combination thing. I thought that one made me think a lot more than the rest. And from there, I think...
The other sounds like they're sandwiched in there.
Yeah, the other two. Either way, you could flip them around. I really did like, I guess maybe because it had more of that combining and thinking, I think that, to me, that did push that one over the edge a bit more. But that could just be because I enjoyed it more, because we'll get to one of my big gripes with Exit is the fact you destroy things. I know you really like that, and I can understand why. Just to me, it was...
Well, let's start talking about Stargazers Manor, because to me, even though I gave it #1 theme, I would honestly say by far it was my least favorite of the four. I thought the puzzles were way too easy, and I also didn't think they lended themselves very well to a group, which is another aspect that's a completely different consideration that we can
Well,
save for
that's definitely something we have to talk about these things too when we get there.
Yeah.
But I guess for me,
I almost feel like you could apply that to all 4 of these, to be honest. But
oh no, that's why I think we'll bring it up, because I think we should also bring it up with your actual experience in a real escape room.
Right.
I have not been in one. He has, and I think that these need to be compared to that, especially when we talk about the pricing.
Well, the thing about Exit, I mean, I don't like that you have to destroy it. I just don't care. I don't mind.
Right. No, I understand that.
Because honestly, I feel like I'm never gonna want to replay any of these, to be honest with you. Like, it would be very rare. I really feel like they're mainly, for me, one-time experiences. Exit, I just thought had I don't want to spoil anything, but you'll know what I'm referring to. Had one of the more like mind-blowy moments of the game that I really liked. I did something very creative in terms of the puzzles and using the components that you were given that I really enjoyed. Unlock, like I said, is a close second for me. I think if I played more Unlock versions, if I could compare all 3 of the Unlocks to the 3 Exits, there's a good chance Unlock would edge it out.
Right. The reason why I like Unlocked a bit more compared to Exit and the other ones is that with that combining mechanism. One of the reasons I didn't feel like it was just one of the other ones is almost just like playing Professor Layton, just random puzzles that kept throwing at you until you finished all the puzzles. This I felt like, why do I need a key?
Yeah.
Like I felt like the puzzles are doing it because you know why there was more reasoning behind it.
Yeah, I completely feel that, and I love that too.
And instead of just a code wheel.
Right.
And I do feel and I completely understand it, and I think this is the big issue with Unlock games, which you got to look at. I mean, even on Unlock and Exit rooms in real life, is sometimes, which happened to you in the room, is if you have too many people, someone's going to sit on the sidelines.
Yeah. Well, this is where
in the Stargazers Manor, I felt like you actually were in the sidelines for that one a lot. Like, we played, the 2 of us and my brother and friend Mark and Matt. I felt like the 2 of them actually had a lot of the puzzles most of the time, and I got him on one of them, but...
Well, that's why I think part of the problem is because the puzzles were too easy. There was never a chance for someone to be like, I need your help with this, because it felt like half the time it came out and this first person who looked at it was like, I got this, and it was never me. So that was a bummer, and I felt like some of the other games, like I think Exit was the best in terms of doing this, of getting more people involved at same puzzles. I think Escape Room the game was also, the Escape Room the game was better because it had more puzzles coming out at the same time.
Right.
So you could divide them up. Stargazers Manor was really like, you only had like
one puzzle, one or two
maybe.
at a time.
So that was really the problem. And we only had 4 people.
No, and I completely understand that. But thematically, I did really love the fact of the story, and that was a big thing for it.
Yeah.
That pushes it above, that pushes it to rival these. But for me, one of the things that you mentioned is you're not looking to play it again. The truth is, it's not even just also looking to play again. It could be like, all right, I played it, but now I can give it to my friend and play and see how he does. Especially when there's a score at the end, and you can be like, how well did you do? 2 stars.
Yeah, I mean, that's cool. Personally, I just don't care about
because speaking of games that some people would say probably don't have much replayability, you mentioned in the beginning, Time Stories, Sherlock Holmes. I have replayed the Asylum story of Time Stories after knowing it all, and I still had fun.
Yeah, and I think that is just straight up just the difference between the 2 of us.
But then that comes down to, so what?
But I will say, whether you want to play it again a second time or not, I think the price point is completely fair.
No, and I think that's why I said we need to talk about price point.
Yeah.
There comes a point, is it worth it for this thing? And is it makes sense?
For the price of, honestly, a 3D movie, you could buy this game.
Right, and that's why I think both Unlock and Exit, assuming if we're right about Unlock being 15, I think that's a fair thing for it's like a party.
Right.
Which is why actually, if you ask me, because in the end I still enjoyed playing them all. We like puzzles. If you were to ask me, should it win the award, I'm going to say no, because to me, for a board game, I don't think it's a board game award. For an experience, I think it's a fantastic idea, because how much was actually going to the escape room?
It's like $30 a person at most of them.
For $15,
maybe $20
or $20 for these kind of things.
Yeah.
you can do it at home. And sure, you don't have the whole room decorated, but honestly, you can do that yourself for a little bit. And maybe you're not even near any of the escape rooms. Like they could be all in like nowhere, depending where you live. So that's why I think where some of them can shine more.
Yeah.
And I forgot to mention, going back, the reason why my problem with Escape the Room, the game, it does come with a lot of scenarios, which is good.
Yeah.
When the other ones you have to buy each time. But the way you put in the keys, I'm pretty sure they're the same each time. So if you know it's triangle, the triangle key, the circle key, the square key, and that, it might be the same.
I'm trying to remember because I know we talked about this when we were playing it,
right.
and I couldn't remember if we actually figured out.
I mean, we need to test it.
a pattern or not.
I think an app, and that's where I think Unlock also will shine more, is the right path to go because you can randomize so much better.
For sure. I mean, it's easier, absolutely, for everybody involved. Well, here's where I'll discredit the entire segment by saying, I gotta be honest. I don't love these escape games. I like them, and if there's a group who wants to play them, like I'll be down for it, and it's cool, and I think some of the puzzles are really fun. But I think for me, it goes back to two things: having a time limit and having to share puzzles with other people. Too often for me harms my enjoyment of it. I really honestly, my preferred way to play these, I think, would be me alone in a room with unlimited time. Because I like sitting down and thinking about a puzzle, and maybe I leave for an hour or a day and come back and now I know
that's why,
it.
like the video games you like because you just
exactly. So for me, I honestly, the concept itself is almost flawed for me, and I don't know if there's a way that I could really Time Stories is almost the closest to making that experience palatable for me. I think that is the answer of what I enjoy more.
Well, no, that's why in the end I want to bring up and compare Time Stories. Like these, I feel like are more of you buy for a party experience almost, and even though someone missed the puzzle, almost like it's because you don't care as much. But for a really deep, fun experience, I love when it's just the 2 or 3 of us playing Time Stories or the Sherlock Holmes or Mythos, when we actually do have I feel like because the puzzle is such a big puzzle, so to speak, it's not just switch some letters and numbers around. Mm-hmm. You're like, all right, I'm on map duty.
Right.
I've got and it's more and in fact, almost like when we talked about earlier playing this War of Mine, we're not this is my puzzle, I'll solve it. We're everyone has to be one big brain and just be like, well, what do you think about this? Well, the earring was missing here and stuff. So that's why I find those to be much more enjoyable. And while knowing the answers, like I said with Time Stories, I could replay them again because I almost think it's fun to just see other people then trying to solve the puzzles with them.
Well, I think it's something that's it's hard to pull off that feeling. I think that when lightning strikes and when you do get those perfect moments of oh, you perfectly helped with half one of the puzzle, and I perfectly figured out half two, and when you feel like you really contributed and you both are geniuses, that's the best. The problem is it's just so hard to make that happen. There's so many factors that I think can go wrong along the way.
And going to that, another interesting point is I mentioned how I really like the Stargazers mansion because thematically it has more the story. And I think that's what you sort of have to do to help with these things is even maybe decorate more Egyptian things or maybe have some beakers around, whatever the theme is. But that story, Time Stories, Mythos, and Sherlock do
I'll say those 3 games blow all of these out of the water.
No, that's what I mean.
Theme.
I mean, I feel like if I in the end had to make a recommendation that isn't for a party game, I like the thematic of Stargate, but if you're going to go there, you might as well just go to Sherlock or something, I feel.
Yeah, for sure. The thing that I wish they would do, I wish some of them would try doing, is more things that are specifically tailored to a group, because I do feel that right now all those puzzles are puzzles designed for one person that either multiple people can try or 2 different puzzles for 2 people to try. I wish there was somehow something where I don't know what the real-world equivalent of this would be, but the multiplayer Zelda games.
I was actually about to say, in a video game where one person has to push
the
boulders,
you got to stand on a Switch. I got to
chain.
stand on a Switch. Stuff like that where it's integral to have more than one person, that you really you're needed to.
Well,
do
I
different
think
parts.
what I would like to see them do, and I think it's possible, would be like, you know, the You Don't Know Jack games, where you type in a code, it puts you in a server, and those 4 cell phones are in a server. What if the Unlock game did something like that? So you each had your own phone in this app. So
I think that's the way to do it. You know, the same way that co-op games, you know, combat the alpha gamer problem is you give everyone their own information and like
the bomb game.
Yeah, exactly. To keep talking, or everyone explodes, or whatever it is. Where you're required to give something to help.
No,
solve.
I completely agree that is the big challenge for escape games to stand out. I mean, some of them do a little bit better jobs than the others. But really, as you said, it's almost like one person maybe solves it. That's it. Like, I mean, the Egyptian one, it was sort of just like, I remember when we found the big reveal, I was just like, what if it's this? And then we're like, oh, but it wasn't like, I said this, and you're like, okay, well then if I plug this into this now, like.
Right.
Sort of, well, actually the one who actually does it the best, in a not really a strong way, was the Escape the Room. Not Escape the Room, the Escape Room, the game one. Because there's so many puzzles.
So confusing.
Because the other ones were usually 1 or 2 puzzles came out at a time, so someone ended the silence.
Right.
When you throw 6 puzzles at once, but I don't feel that's the right way still.
It's a solution, but not a great solution.
Right.
Yeah, I completely agree. So, in summation, we recommend time stories.
In summation, they are great for maybe like one time, especially these exit rooms, because you destroy everything. You know, one-time party sort of events. But in terms of a board game, I think you're better off spending the extra for time stories.
But if you like that kind of experience, they're cheap. You may as well, I would recommend definitely pick up either an exit or an unlock, because you definitely you should at least try it, because they are fun. I know we both liked exit and unlock the best, basically. So
partly due because I do think that the fact that they're cheaper makes it fantastic. You don't feel nearly as bad.
But it'll be interesting to see where this trend goes, how long it continues for.
Legacy.
It could be. So let us know if you've tried any of these, or if you've done the real ones, like we've said, what you think, how they compare. That a lot of factors there too, because the real ones can range from really cool to really not cool. And go back and watch our other videos where we've talked about this too, and you can get more insight. Leave a comment. Please let us know what you think about escape games. You can do it right there on YouTube. It's right there. Just comment, so easy.
Don't forget to subscribe so you can find out when we actually talk about your comment.
Yeah, it's a really good way to keep up with our stuff.
And of course, we're in so many other places. We're on Twitter and Instagram at Roll4Crit, Facebook, still locked in the horrible Egyptian tombs.
If you want to help us escape, the way you can do that is by going to roll4crit.com, where right now we are selling Escape the Room games.
And Unlock.
I meant.
You mean the group. The grouping of them.
Escape the Room games is what we are selling. Try to keep up. And plus you can find more videos and reviews and all that kind of fun stuff over there from us over there. Until we see you again next time, let us know if you have the code. I'm Jonathan Estes.
I'm Will Keeler. Remember that. You're going to need that for the next puzzle. And this has been Roll4Crit.